Have you ever felt like everything in your life is falling apart at the exact moment you needed it to come together? Pause. Have you ever cried in silence, questioned your path, doubted your worth, and wondered if God has forgotten you? Let me tell you something powerful today. What feels like pressure is not punishment. What feels like delay is not denial. And what feels like breaking might actually be God preparing you for something greater than you ever imagined. You see, we often mistake discomfort for destruction, but God doesn't prepare blessings in comfort. He prepares them in transformation. If your life feels confusing right now, if doors are closing, if people are walking away, if you are being stretched beyond your limits, this is not the end of your story. This is a sign that God is preparing you for a blessing. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to recognize those signs so you stop fearing the process and start embracing the purpose. Have you ever noticed how life seems to get harder right when you decide to do better? The moment you commit to growing, to changing, to becoming something greater, suddenly things don't flow the way they used to. Small problems turn into big ones. Easy days turn into heavy ones. And you sit there wondering, why now? Why when I'm actually trying? But what if that difficulty is not a setback? What if it's a signal? Think about it in the simplest way. Imagine someone who has never lifted weights before. The first day they pick up something light, it feels manageable, almost easy. But if they want to grow stronger, those light weights won't be enough anymore. The weight has to increase. The resistance has to rise. The muscles have to be stretched beyond comfort. And in that moment, it doesn't feel like growth, it feels like struggle. It feels uncomfortable. It even feels painful. But that pain is not there to break them. It's there to build them. Your life works the same way. When God is preparing you for something greater, He doesn't keep your life easy, He makes you stronger. And strength is not built in comfort. Strength is built in pressure. So when challenges start increasing, it's not because you are failing. It's because you are being trusted with more. Look at your daily life. Think about a time when everything felt smooth, you had no pressure, no real challenges, nothing pushing you. In those moments, did you really grow or did you just stay the same? Now think about a time when life tested you, when you had to wake up early despite being tired, when you had to stay patient, when you were frustrated, when you had to keep going even when nothing was working. Those were the moments that changed you. Those were the moments that shaped your mindset, your discipline, your strength. Growth never comes wrapped in comfort. It comes disguised as difficulty. And here's what most people don't realize. When challenges increase, it means your capacity is expanding. You are being stretched to hold something bigger. Because the truth is, the blessing you're asking for requires a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more resilient than who you are right now. Imagine giving a person a huge responsibility when they are not ready for it. It would overwhelm them. It would crush them. Not because the opportunity is bad, but because they are not prepared. So instead of giving you the blessing too early, God prepares you for it. And preparation feels like pressure. It feels like things not going your way. It feels like plans falling apart. It feels like people misunderstanding you. It feels like doors closing when you expected them to open. But every one of those moments is shaping you into someone who can handle what is coming. Think about a student preparing for an important exam. The closer the exam gets, the harder the questions become. The pressure increases. The time feels shorter. The stress builds up. But that doesn't mean the student is failing it. It means the moment of success is getting closer. In the same way, when your life feels more challenging than usual, it may not be a sign that you are going backwards. It may be a sign that you are closer than you think. The problem is most people quit in this phase. They see the difficulty and assume they are on the wrong path. They feel the pressure and think something is wrong. So they step back. They give up. They choose comfort over growth. But the ones who keep going, the ones who understand that struggle has a purpose, those are the ones who step into something greater. So the next time life feels heavier than usual, don't immediately ask, why is this happening to me? Ask a better question. What is this preparing me for? Because maybe, just maybe, this challenge is not here to stop you, it's here to strengthen you. Maybe this pressure is not here to break you, it's here to build you. And maybe the reason things are getting harder is because your life is about to get bigger. Have you ever felt like people are slowly disappearing from your life? Conversations become shorter. Invitations stop coming. The phone doesn't ring as often. The circle that once felt full suddenly feels quiet, almost empty. And in those moments, it's easy to think something is wrong with you. You start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Did I change too much? Why do I feel so alone? That silence can feel heavy. It can feel uncomfortable. Sometimes it can even feel painful. But what? If that isolation is not rejection, what if it's preparation? Look at your daily life for a moment. When a student wants to achieve something big, pass an important exam, master a difficult subject, or build a future, they naturally begin to step away from distractions. They spend less time in noise and more time in focus. While others are out enjoying comfort, they choose discipline. From the outside, it looks like they are missing out, but in reality, they are setting themselves up because focus requires distance. In the same way, when God is preparing you for something higher, He often separates you from what is familiar. Not to hurt you, but to help you hear yourself more clearly, to help you grow without constant noise, to help you become who you are meant to be without being influenced by who you used to be. Isolation is not emptiness, it is alignment. Think about it. When your life is full of constant opinions, constant conversations, constant distractions, it becomes hard to hear your own thoughts, hard to understand your own purpose, hard to recognize what truly matters. But when things quiet down, when people step back, when your environment becomes still, something powerful begins to happen. You start seeing things differently. You begin to understand what you truly want. You recognize what was draining your energy. You realize which connections were real and which were just comfortable habits. That space, that silence, it begins to sharpen your awareness. And yes, it feels uncomfortable at first because we are used to noise. We are used to being surrounded. We are used to constant interaction. So when that suddenly reduces, it feels like loss. But not every loss is negative. Some losses are necessary to create space for something better. Think about your phone for a second. When the storage is full, nothing new can come in. You can't take more pictures. You can't download anything important. The system slows down. It becomes frustrating. What do? Do in that situation. You delete what you no longer need, not because those things were bad, but because they were no longer useful for where you are going. Your life works the same way. Sometimes God removes certain people, certain distractions, certain environments, not because they are bad, but because they are not aligned with your next level. And if they stayed, they would limit your growth. But here's where most people struggle. They try to hold on. They chase old connections. They try to bring back what naturally faded. They resist the very space that was given to them for growth. And in doing so, they delay their own progress. Because you cannot step into a new version of yourself while holding tightly to everything from your old life. Growth requires release. And isolation is often the space where that release happens. It's in those quiet moments when you're sitting alone, thinking, reflecting, questioning, that you begin to rebuild yourself. You develop stronger thoughts. You build deeper understanding. You become more independent, more aware, more grounded. You stop relying on constant validation. You stop needing approval for every step. You begin to trust yourself more, and that is powerful. Because the next level of your life requires a stronger version of you, not just externally, but internally. Someone who is not easily distracted. Someone who is not dependent on noise. Someone who can stand alone if needed. And that strength, it is built in isolation. So if you are in a phase where things feel quieter than usual, where your circle feels smaller, where your days feel more alone than before, don't rush to fill that space. Don't assume something is wrong. Instead, understand this. You are being prepared prepared to think differently, prepared to grow independently, prepared to step into something that requires focus, clarity, and strength. Because elevation and distraction cannot exist in the same space. So sometimes before God lifts you up, He pulls you aside. And what feels like loneliness is actually a season of transformation. A season where you are not being left behind, but being set apart. Have you ever watched something fall apart right in front of you, something you worked hard for, something you believed in, something you thought would last? Stand, felt that deep sinking feeling in your chest, that moment where nothing makes sense, where all you can think is, why is this happening? I didn't deserve this. It could be a plan, failed after months of effort. A relationship that ended without warning. An opportunity that slipped through your hands just when you thought you had it. In those moments, it doesn't feel like life is helping you. It feels like life is taking from you. But what if what's falling apart is not your life, but your limitations? Think about your daily life in the simplest way. Imagine your room is completely full of old things, things you don't use anymore, things you've outgrown, things that once had meaning but no longer serve you. Now imagine someone brings you something new, something valuable, something that could truly improve your life. Where will you put it? You can't, because there's no space. So before something new can enter your life, something old has to leave. Not because it was bad, but because it has completed its role. Your life works the same way. When things begin to fall apart, we often focus only on the loss. We hold on to what's leaving instead of asking why it's leaving. We try to fix what is breaking instead of understanding that maybe it is supposed to break, because not everything that stays in your life is meant to grow with you. Some things are seasonal. Look at nature. Trees don't hold on to their leaves forever. When the season changes, the leaves fall. And if the tree tried to keep them, if it refused to let go, it would actually harm itself. The falling of leaves is not destruction. It's preparation for renewal. In the same way, when certain things fall out of your life, it doesn't mean your life is ending. It means your life is changing. And change is uncomfortable because we attach meaning to what we have. We build routines, expectations, emotional connections. So when those things are removed, it feels like a part of us is being taken away. It feels personal. But sometimes it's not personal, it's purposeful. Think about a time when something didn't work out for you. At that moment, it felt like a loss. But later, when you look back, you realize that if that thing had stayed, you wouldn't have grown. You wouldn't have moved forward. You wouldn't have discovered something better. That's the part we often forget. We judge the moment based on how it feels, not based on what it's doing for us. A job that ends might open the door to a better path. A friendship that fades might protect your peace. A plan that fails might redirect you towards something more aligned with your purpose. But in the moment, we don't see that. All we see is what's breaking. And here's the truth. Things don't fall apart randomly. They fall apart when they can no longer support who you are becoming. Because the person you are growing into cannot carry everything from your past. Some habits have to go. Some environments have to change. Some connections have to end. Not because you failed, but because you are evolving. Imagine trying to fit into clothes you wore years ago. At some point, they no longer fit, not because the clothes are bad, but because you've outgrown them. And holding on to them doesn't help you grow. It just keeps you stuck in a version of yourself that no longer exists. The same applies to your life. When something falls apart, instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Try asking, what space is this creating for me? Because every ending creates an opening. Every loss creates space. Every breakdown clears the path for a breakthrough, but only if you allow it. The mistake most people make is trying to rebuild what was never meant to last. They hold on to broken pieces, trying to force them back together, not realizing that those pieces no longer fit their future. And in doing that, they block what is trying to come into their life, because new things require empty space. So if something in your life is falling apart right now, don't rush to fix it immediately. Don't panic. Don't assume the worst. Take a moment and understand this. Something is being cleared. Something is being moved out of your way. Something that could not go with you to your next level is being removed. And yes, it hurts. Yes, it feels uncertain. But sometimes what feels like everything going wrong is actually everything being rearranged. Rearranged so that when your blessing arrives, there is space for it. Space in your life, space in your mind, space in your heart. Because what is coming next cannot fit into a life that is already full of what no longer belongs. So trust the process even when it looks like loss. Because sometimes things don't fall apart to destroy you. They fall apart to make room for something greater than you ever imagined. Have you ever had that strange feeling where everything in your life looks fine from the outside, but inside something just doesn't sit right? You wake up, follow your routine, talk to the same people, go through the same motions, but deep down, there's a quiet voice whispering, this isn't it, there's more, and you can't fully explain it. Nothing is completely wrong, yet nothing feels completely right either. It's like you've outgrown a version of your life, but you haven't stepped into the next one yet. That space in between can feel confusing, uncomfortable, even frustrating. But what if that restlessness is not a problem? What if it's a signal? In everyday life, think about how a person feels when they've stayed in the same place for too long. The same routine, the same habits, the same mindset. At first, it feels comfortable, safe, predictable. But over time, that comfort starts turning into boredom, and that boredom slowly becomes dissatisfaction. Why? Because growth has a natural urge. Just like a seed cannot stay a seed forever, you cannot stay the same person forever. There comes a point where something inside you begins to push, to expand, to move forward. That inner push, that quiet discomfort is not there to disturb you. It's there to direct you. Think about a simple example. Imagine you've been using the same phone for years. It works, it does the basic job, but it's slow, outdated, and limited. At some point, you start feeling irritated using it. Not because it's completely useless, but because you know there's something better out there. That irritation pushes you to upgrade. Without that feeling, you would stay stuck with what is okay and never move toward what is better. Your life works in the same way. That inner restlessness you feel is not dissatisfaction without purpose, it's awareness. Awareness that you are capable of more. Awareness that your current situation no longer matches your potential. And here's the important part. Growth doesn't always begin with clarity. It often begins with discomfort. You don't always get a clear map. You don't always know exactly what to do next. Sometimes all you feel is that something needs to change. Something needs to shift. Something needs to move. And that feeling can be scary because it pushes you out of what is familiar. It makes you question things you once accepted. It makes you rethink decisions, relationships, habits. It challenges your comfort zone. And naturally, your mind resists it. It says, stay where you are. This is safe. This is known. But growth never happens in what is known. It happens when you listen to that inner voice, even when it doesn't give you all the answers. Look at people who have made meaningful changes in their lives. Most of the time, they didn't start with a perfect plan. They started with a feeling that they couldn't ignore anymore. A person leaves a job not because they have everything figured out, but because they know they can't stay where they are. A person starts learning something new not because it's easy, but because something inside them is pulling them toward it. That pull, that inner restlessness is guidance. It's like a signal saying, you're ready for the next level. But here's where many people get stuck. They ignore it. They distract themselves. They convince themselves that everything is fine. They silence that inner voice because change feels uncomfortable. And slowly they settle. They choose comfort over growth. And over time, that restlessness doesn't disappear, it turns into regret. Because deep down, they know they were meant for more, but they didn't move. So if you are feeling that inner discomfort right now, if something inside you keeps telling you that your life needs to shift, that you need to grow, that you need to step into something new, don't ignore it. Pay attention to it. Because that feeling is not there by accident. It's there because you are being prepared. Prepared to think differently, prepared to act differently, prepared to step into a version of yourself that you haven't fully met yet. And yes, it will feel uncertain. Yes, it will feel uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not your enemy, it's your invitation. An invitation to rise above what is familiar. An invitation to break out of limitations. An invitation to become more than. You have been, so instead of running from that restlessness, listen to it. Because sometimes the reason you feel uncomfortable in your current life is because you are no longer meant to stay there. And that feeling, that quiet, persistent nudge is not confusion. It's transformation beginning. Have you ever asked for something with all your heart, waited, hoped, believed, and still nothing happened? You prayed in your own way, you stayed patient for a while, you kept expecting a sign, but the answer didn't come when you thought it would. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and slowly a question started forming inside you. Why is nothing changing? That silence can feel heavy. Because when you're waiting for something important to break through, an opportunity, a change in your situation, you don't just wait with time, you wait with emotion. You invest your hope into it. And when that hope is not answered quickly, it can start turning into doubt. But what if that delay is not empty? What if something is happening just not in the way you can see? Think about your daily life. Imagine you decide to build something meaningful, maybe a skill, a career, or even your physical strength. On the first day, you put in effort, but nothing changes. The second day, still nothing visible. Even after a week, it feels like your work is going unnoticed. But does that mean nothing is happening? Number. The change is just not visible yet. A person who starts exercising doesn't see results immediately. But inside their body, muscles are slowly forming, strength is quietly increasing, endurance is being built. The real work is happening beneath the surface, long before it shows on the outside. Your life works the same way. When answers are delayed, it doesn't mean they are denied. It means preparation is in progress. Because receiving something is easy, but sustaining it is different. And God is not just focused on giving you something, He is focused on making sure you are ready to handle it. Think about it. If you receive something too early before you've developed the mindset, the discipline, the patience to manage it, you might lose it just as quickly. Not because you didn't deserve it, but because you weren't prepared for it. So instead of rushing the outcome, God works on the foundation. And that foundation is your character. Character is built in waiting. It's built when you don't see results but still stay consistent. It's built when things are slow but you don't give up. It's built when you feel uncertain but you keep moving forward anyway. Waiting is not wasting time, it's training your strength. Look at a simple example. Imagine cooking something that requires time. If you rush if you turn up the heat too high just to get it done quickly, you might burn it or ruin it completely. But when you allow it to cook at the right pace, something better comes out of it. The process matters. In the same way, your life cannot be rushed without consequences. The delay you're experiencing might actually be protecting you from stepping into something too early, protecting you from making decisions you're not ready for, protecting you from outcomes that could harm you instead of helping you. But in the moment, we don't see protection, we only see delay. And that's where patience becomes difficult, because we live in a world where everything is fast. Instant results, instant responses, instant satisfaction. So when something takes time, it feels wrong. It feels like something is missing. But real growth has never been instant. And the most meaningful things in life often take the longest to arrive. Think about the times when you had to wait for something important. During that waiting period, you changed. You learned. You became more aware, more patient, more prepared. And when the opportunity finally came, you were not the same person who first asked for it, you were better. That's what the delay was doing. It wasn't ignoring you. It was shaping you. And here's something powerful to remember. Just because you don't see progress doesn't mean there is no progress. Some of the most important work in your life happens in silence. No applause, no visible results, just quiet development. And that's where most people lose faith. They stop too early. They give up in the middle of the process because they think nothing is happening. They walk away just before things start coming together. But those who understand the value of delay, they stay. They keep going. They keep believing. They keep improving themselves while they wait. And when the moment finally arrives, they are ready not just to receive, but to sustain. So if you are in a phase where things feel delayed, where your efforts don't seem to be paying off, where your questions feel unanswered, don't lose hope. Instead, shift your perspective. Understand that this time is not empty, it is meaningful. You are being strengthened. You are being prepared. You are becoming someone who can handle what is coming. Because when the blessing finally arrives, it won't just be about receiving it, it will be about being ready for it. And sometimes the reason it takes time is because you are being built into someone who won't lose what they've been given. Have you ever stood at the edge of an opportunity and felt two completely opposite emotions at the same time? One part of you feels excited, your heart beats faster, your mind starts imagining new possibilities. And something deep inside says, this could change everything. But at the same time, another part of you feels afraid. You start thinking, what if I fail? What if I'm not ready? What if this goes wrong? And suddenly, instead of moving forward, you freeze. That moment, that exact feeling is more important than you realize. Because the things that truly have the power to change your life will rarely feel comfortable. They will stretch you. They will challenge you. They will push you into unfamiliar territory. And your mind, which is designed to keep you safe, will interpret that unfamiliarity as danger. But not all fear is a warning to stop. Sometimes fear is a signal that you are about to grow. Think about your daily life. The first time you tried anything new, speaking in front of people, starting a new job, learning a new skill, it didn't feel easy. Your hands might have shaken. Your voice might have felt uncertain. Your thoughts might have been full of doubt. But what happened after you took that step? You didn't break. You adapted. And with each step forward, what once felt scary slowly became normal. What once felt impossible became manageable. And what once felt overwhelming became part of your strength. That's how growth works. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. The greatest opportunities in your life will often come disguised as fear. Because if something doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. If something doesn't stretch you, it won't grow you. So when you feel both excitement and fear at the same time, don't automatically step back. That combination is not confusion, it's direction. It's a sign that you are standing in front of something bigger than your current version of yourself. And yes, it feels uncomfortable. Because stepping into something new means leaving behind what is familiar. It means risking failure. It means facing uncertainty. And your mind will try to protect you by convincing you to stay where you are. It will say, wait until you're ready. It will say, maybe this isn't for you. It will say, what if things go wrong? But here's something powerful to understand. You don't become ready before you take the step. You become ready by taking the step. Look at a simple example. Imagine someone who wants to learn how to swim. If they stand at the edge of the water, waiting to feel completely confident before they jump in, they might wait forever. Because confidence doesn't come from standing. Outside, it comes from getting in, struggling a little, learning, adjusting, and gradually improving. The same applies to every opportunity in your life. If you wait for fear to disappear, you will miss the very moments that were meant to elevate you. Because fear doesn't always mean stop. Sometimes it means this matters. It means you are stepping into something that has the potential to change your direction. Something that requires a new level of courage, a new level of belief, a new level of action. And that's exactly why it feels uncomfortable. Think about times when you avoided something because it felt scary. Maybe you didn't apply for that opportunity. Maybe you didn't speak up. Maybe you didn't take that risk. At that moment, avoiding it gave you temporary comfort. But later, did you feel satisfied? Or did you feel like you missed something? That quiet regret, that feeling of I should have tried, comes from ignoring opportunities that were meant for your growth. On the other hand, think about a time when you faced your fear. Even if it didn't go perfectly, you learned something. You grew. You became stronger. And most importantly, you proved to yourself that you are capable of more than you thought. That's the difference. Fear can either stop you or shape you. And the choice depends on whether you move forward or step back. So when a new opportunity comes into your life, something that excites you but also scares you, pause for a moment. Don't run from the fear. Look at it closely. Ask yourself, is this fear protecting me or is it limiting me? Because sometimes the door that leads to your next level will not look safe. It will not feel easy. It will not come with guarantees, but it will come with potential. Potential to grow. Potential to change your path. Potential to become someone you've never been before. And that potential is always hidden behind a layer of discomfort. So don't let fear be the reason you stay where you are. Let it be the reason you move forward. Because sometimes the very thing that scares you the most is the very thing that is meant to grow you the most. And that feeling, that mix of excitement and fear, is not there to stop you. It's there to show you exactly where your next step is. Have you ever noticed how certain problems keep showing up in your life again and again? Different people, but the same kind of conflict. Different situations, but the same kind of frustration. Different environments, but somehow the same outcome. And each time it happens, you tell yourself, why does this keep happening to me? At first it feels like bad luck. Then it starts to feel unfair. And eventually it becomes exhausting. You try to move forward, but it feels like life keeps bringing you back to the same test, just with a different face. But what if those repeated situations are not there to punish you? What if they are there to teach you? Think about your daily life in the simplest way. Imagine a student who doesn't understand a lesson properly. When exam time comes, they fail that part. What happens next? The system doesn't say, it's okay, just skip it. Number. That lesson comes back again, in another test, in another form, until the student finally understands it. Because progress is not about skipping lessons, it's about learning them. Your life works the same way. When a certain pattern keeps repeating, it's often because there is something within that situation you haven't fully understood yet. Something you haven't changed, something you haven't grown through. And until that lesson is learned, a situation will return. Not to frustrate you, but to develop you. Look at relationships, for example. Someone might say, I always meet the wrong people. But if you look closely, the issue is not just the people, it's the pattern. Maybe they ignore red flags. Maybe they don't set boundaries. Maybe they give too much without protecting their own peace. So even if the person changes, the pattern stays. And as long as the pattern stays, the outcome repeats. The same applies to other areas of life. Maybe you keep facing financial struggles, not because opportunities aren't there, but because certain habits haven't changed. Maybe you keep feeling stuck in your career, not because you lack ability, but because you avoid taking risks or learning new skills. Life doesn't repeat problems randomly. It repeats them intentionally until you become aware. But awareness alone is not enough. You also have to be willing to change. And that's where most people struggle. Because it's easier to blame the situation than to reflect on yourself. It's easier to say, this always happens to me, than to ask, what is this trying to teach me? But growth begins the moment you ask that question. The moment you stop seeing repetition as punishment and start seeing it as guidance. Think about it like this. Every repeated situation is like a mirror. It reflects something back to you. It shows you an area where you need to grow, where you need to adjust, where you need to become stronger. And until you change what's inside, what's outside will continue to look the same. That's why two people can go through similar situations and have completely different outcomes. One learns the lesson and moves forward. The other ignores it and stays stuck in the same cycle. So if something keeps repeating in your life, don't rush to escape it immediately. Pause. Look at it closely. Ask yourself, what is this? Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you self-respect. Maybe it's teaching you discipline. Maybe it's teaching you how to let go. Whatever the lesson is, it is necessary for your next level. Because you cannot move forward while carrying the same mindset that kept you stuck. Imagine trying to climb higher while repeating the same mistake on every step. You would never reach the top, not because the top is impossible, but because you're not adjusting your approach. That's why lessons repeat. not to stop you, but to prepare you. And once you truly learn the lesson, not just understand it, but apply it, the pattern breaks. Suddenly, the situations that once troubled you no longer have the same effect. The things that once confused you become clear. The cycles that once trapped you disappear. And you realize something powerful. The problem was never there to block your path. It was there to build your awareness. So instead of feeling frustrated by repetition, start seeing it differently. See it as a sign that you are being guided toward growth, guided toward understanding, guided toward becoming a better, stronger, wiser version of yourself. Because every repeated lesson carries a message. And once you receive that message, once you truly learn what it was meant to teach you, that same situation will no longer be a struggle. It will become a stepping stone, a step that takes you higher than where you were before. Have you ever experienced a moment where everything around you felt uncertain, but somehow deep inside you felt calm? Not because your problems disappeared, not because everything suddenly became perfect, but in the middle of confusion, pressure, and unanswered questions, there was a quiet sense of peace within you, and you couldn't explain it. Because logically, you should have been stressed. You should have been worried. You should have been overwhelmed like anyone else in that situation. But instead, there was this stillness inside you, like something was telling you it's going to be okay. That feeling is powerful, and it's not something you create on your own, it's something you receive. In daily life, think about how people usually react when things go wrong. When plans fail, when uncertainty rises, when outcomes are unclear, the natural response is anxiety. The mind starts racing. What if this doesn't work? What if things get worse? What if I lose everything? That's the normal pattern. So when you feel calm in a situation that should make you anxious, that's not normal. That's a sign. Imagine you are in the middle of a storm. The wind is strong, the noise is loud, everything around you is shaking. But somehow you are standing in a place where you feel steady. The storm hasn't stopped, but it's not controlling you either. That inner stability is not coming from your circumstances. It's coming from something deeper. Because real peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of trust. Think about moments in your life when you were truly anxious. Your mind kept jumping from one negative thought to another. You couldn't focus. You couldn't rest. Even small things felt overwhelming. Now compare that to moments where you felt calm, even though things were uncertain. You were still aware of the situation, but it didn't control you. You were able to think clearly. You were able to move forward without panic. That difference matters. Because when your mind is filled with fear, you make decisions out of pressure. You react instead of responding. You rush instead of trusting. And often that leads to mistakes. But when you have peace within you, even in chaos, you move differently. You think clearly. You act wisely. You stay grounded. And that inner peace becomes your strength. But here's what most people misunderstand. They think peace comes after everything is fixed. They think once my problems are gone, then I'll feel calm. But life doesn't work that way. There will always be challenges. There will always be uncertainty. There will always be moments where things are not fully in your control. So if your peace depends on everything being perfect, you will always be waiting. But when your peace comes from within, from your connection with God, from your trust in the process, then even imperfect situations cannot shake you. Think about a simple example. Imagine you are traveling with someone you trust completely. You don't know every turn in. The road, you don't know exactly how long it will take. But because you trust the driver, you sit calmly. You don't panic at every turn. You don't question every decision. Why? Because you trust who is guiding you. In the same way, when you truly trust that your life is being guided, that even the difficult moments have purpose, something shifts inside you. You stop trying to control everything. You stop fearing every unknown. You start allowing things to unfold. And that creates peace. Not because everything is clear, but because you believe it will be. Now, this doesn't mean you won't feel pressure or emotions. You will still face challenges. You will still have moments of doubt, but underneath all of that, there will be a deeper layer of calm that keeps you steady. And that calm is a sign that you are aligned, a sign that you are not lost, even if things feel unclear, a sign that you are being guided in the right direction, even if you don't fully understand the path. Yet, because when you are completely off track, your mind is filled with constant confusion and fear. But when you are moving in the right direction, even if it's difficult, there is a sense of quiet assurance, a feeling that says, keep going. So if you are in a phase of life where things are uncertain, where answers are not fully clear, where the future feels unknown, but inside you feel a strange sense of peace, don't ignore it. Don't question it too much. Embrace it, because that peace is not random. It is a reminder that you are not alone in your journey. A reminder that everything is unfolding as it should. A reminder that even in chaos, there is a greater order at work. And sometimes the greatest sign that something good is coming is not what you see around you. It's what you feel within you, that quiet calm, that steady heart, that unshaken trust. Because when you can stand in the middle of uncertainty and still feel peace, it means you are exactly where you need to. B, have you ever felt like you're being pushed to your limit, like life keeps asking more from you than you think you can handle? Not just once, but repeatedly. You handle one challenge, and before you can even rest, another one shows up. You solve one problem, and suddenly a bigger one appears. And at some point, you start thinking, why is this happening to me? Why does it feel like I'm always being tested? It feels exhausting. It feels unfair. It feels like too much. But what if that? Pressure is not there to overwhelm you. What if it's there to reveal you? Think about your daily life. Imagine a piece of coal buried deep within the earth. On its own, it looks ordinary, nothing special. But when that same coal is placed under intense pressure over time, something incredible happens. It transforms into a diamond. Now here's the key. Without pressure, that transformation would never happen. In the same way, there is a version of you that cannot be discovered in comfort. A stronger version, a wiser version, a more capable version. And the only way that version comes out is through pressure. But when you're in it, you don't see transformation. You feel tension. You feel weight. You feel like you're being stretched beyond your limits. And naturally, your first reaction is to escape it. You want things to get easier. You want the pressure to go away. You want a break. But sometimes the pressure is not there to crush you. It's there to uncover what's inside you. Look, at a simple example, think about someone who has never faced real responsibility. Their life has always been easy, predictable, comfortable. Now suddenly they are given a big responsibility, something that requires discipline, focus, and strength. At first, it feels overwhelming. They make mistakes. They feel stressed. They doubt themselves. But as they continue, something begins to change. They adapt. They grow. They become more capable than they were before. And one day they look back and realize that what once felt too much was actually what made them stronger. That's how pressure works. It doesn't just test you, it trains you. But here's where most people get it wrong. They see pressure as a sign that something is wrong. They think if my life was on the right path, it wouldn't be this hard. So they resist it. They complain about it. They try to avoid it. And in doing so, they miss the growth hidden inside it. Because pressure has a purpose. It builds your resilience, sharpens your thinking. It strengthens your patience. It prepares you for situations that require a higher version of yourself. Imagine trying to handle a big opportunity with a small mindset. It wouldn't work. The opportunity would feel overwhelming, and you might lose it not because it wasn't meant for you, but because you weren't ready for it. So before that opportunity arrives, life prepares you, and preparation feels like pressure. It feels like you're being stretched. It feels like you're being challenged more than usual. It feels like you're being pushed beyond what's comfortable. But all of that is shaping you. Think about moments when you thought, I can't handle this. But somehow you did. You got through it. You figured it out. You became stronger because of it. At the time, it felt like too much. But later you realize that you were capable of more than you believed. That's what pressure reveals. It shows you your hidden strength. It forces you to grow beyond your excuses. It pushes you to discover abilities you didn't even know you had. So if your life feels intense right now, if you feel like you're being pushed harder than before, if the challenges seem bigger than usual, don't immediately assume it's a bad sign. Instead, consider this possibility. You are being prepared for something that requires more from you. More strength, more patience, more discipline, more belief. And that version of you is being built right now, in the middle of the pressure. So instead of asking, why is this so hard? Try asking, what is this making me become? Because maybe this is not about what you're going through. It's about who you're becoming. A stronger person, a wiser person, a more capable person. And one day, when you step into the next level of your life, you will realize something powerful. The pressure you once complained about was the very thing that prepared you for it. So don't run from it. Don't fear it. Let it shape you. Because sometimes the reason life feels heavy is because it's building something strong within you.